Hey guys, give me a second. I'm dealing with some technical difficulties. Hang on. Oh fuck, this is annoying. Just give me a minute. Sorry, this mic is refusing to cooperate. Give me a minute. Yeah, it's not picking up my voice very well. Why is that? Does my mic sound okay? I'm looking at my levels and it doesn't seem to be working the way I intended to. Stand by. Let me bring this up. There we go. Properties. Seems like it's behaving the way it's supposed to. Testing 1, 2, blah blah blah. Oh, it's really low though. Why is that? Why is it super low? Can you guys hear me okay or no? I'm not sure. Sounds? I'm looking at the audio levels and it's super low to me, but I'm not sure if it sounds okay for you guys. Do let me know if I need to make any adjustments. But oh well. Gonna commit to it and get us started. Okay. Come over here. Change this. Do this. And put you guys over here. And switch this over. Whoops. Almost switch you guys to the wrong scene there. Just give me a minute. There we are. Hello everyone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. How you guys doing? How's everyone? Okay, so I need to make sure that I have OBS selected, because when OBS is selected for some reason it's more. You know what? Let me try to see if I can fix this, because there's a problem, chat, that I've been dealing with for a while now. That is OBS not getting enough resources if the OBS is in the active window. Let me see if I can do something about that. OBS Studio. Resource values. Oh, that's not what I need. Expand. How do I tell Windows that this program should have all the resources it needs? Compatibility mode? No. Security? No. Details? No. I felt like there used to be the performance? No. Users? Details? Okay, I'm curious about something. Let me bring my task manager over here and see what happens when I click on different stuff. Alright, so this is what I'm looking at right now. What happens if I click this? happens. Okay. Now my OBS will be super laggy. Taking a lot of GP. Okay, what happens now if I click on OBS? What? What? How does that make any sense? Why does me having OBS as the active window make it less laggy? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. You know what? I'm gonna have to figure this out next time. Hello, Maka. Hi, Panzer. Hello, Numi. Welcome. How you guys doing? Welcome, welcome. I sound a bit muffled. Do I sound muffled now? Hang on. Do I sound muffled? That's not good. Give me a second. Let me see if I can fix this. Okay, how about now? Do I still sound muffled or no? I can't tell. This is very strange. Now what? Panzer. Anyone in chat? How do I sound now? Do I sound muffled or high or low? Or what? This makes no sense to me. Not muffled anymore. So I'm... Okay, why is... Hang on. Okay, this doesn't make any sense to me. Hang on, let me try to see if I can fix this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. 1, 2. Oh. Blah. Fix it. Oh no. Still too low. Bit worried about doing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, how about now? Oh no, I feel like I'm too loud. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Low. How about? Do I sound okay or no? I don't know if I need to adjust things. I have a feeling that my antline mic is breaking. It's rather odd how. Describe it. My volume has not changed? You sure? Because I'm looking at the sliders and the sliders are telling me my volume has changed. Somewhat. I should be a bit louder. But yeah, I'm a bit worried that my antline mic is slowly breaking. This is not good. Hey, hang on a second. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why is that? Why is that not behaving the way I expected to?
Hang on, oh,
2 and 4.
wow.
Oh, that is so weird. That is so weird. It's looking like my noise kit is acting up, but I don't know why. Why is that behaving so oddly?
It shouldn't
causing
issues, at least not that kind of issue. I'm not sure. But yeah, it could just be my end line mic breaking.
I don't know what else could be causing this weird behavior, I think.
Oh, that sucks. I'm hoping that my end line mic is not breaking. Oh. Okay.
Either way, we have a stopgap measure for now.
Otherwise, bad, high, low. You let me know.
If my end line mic is
losing sensitivity, that means it's breaking, which is not good. Hopefully it doesn't break, but
oh, check. It's a very nice new world I found, although sadly I can't use it as my
home world for 2 reasons. One, you see those tracks over there?
It makes me motion sick whenever I look at them, so I'm trying my best not to look at them.
And also, the reason why I can't use this on my home world is because this world has an autoplay music that starts as soon as you get here, and
you guys know me, right? You guys know how I hate autoplay stuff, so yeah. My finger snaps sound crisp. What's finger snaps? You mean this? You mean this?
That's not finger snaps. It's something else.
It's not good if you guys are hearing this.
Yeah, I much prefer this lighting.
Post-processing otherwise is like so... hang on. What about old? Oh, this feels... No, wait.
Oh, this is too cool.
This world's actually really nice because see all the
post-processing options here. What a lovely.
Okay, yeah, this is good.
This is nice and warm without being too, yellow or orange.
You want to hear my finger snaps? These are my finger snaps.
The thing is, I don't know if the mic is probably picking up.
No, I need to adjust my filters a little bit.
How about here? Let me know if it sounds like my voice is getting cut off for any reason. Let me know, chat.
If it sounds like my words are getting cut off, then I need to adjust my
audio filters. How are you guys doing, by the way? You guys had a good weekend? This is my
last stream, chat. This is my last stream.
I'm so happy you guys are here for the last stream. I go on vacation.
Yeah, I'm gonna be taking a week off, starting as soon as
I finish the stream.
I really need it. I've been needing a week off for since New Year, I think.
So I'm looking forward to taking a week break from streaming. I'm gonna miss you guys though. On a holiday. But don't worry, I'll keep myself busy.
I know.
I know some friends are honking me and saying,
That cutie.
"Hi, kitty, you should be actually resting when you go on break."
Not working when you go on break, but
I got stuff I gotta do. Yeah, wait, still, cause you're still working.
okay. Like, okay. Yeah, why? Why? Okay, there's something very wrong with my noise gate. It's not activating when I want it to activate. That's so strange.
Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Hopefully that will fix it. Hi Louie, welcome. Welcome. How you doing?
Oh, that's so annoying.
Hang on.
Okay.
No.
Okay, why? My noise gate isn't working at all. What the hell?
Why?
I can see the noise gate cutting off at that time. Yeah, why? Okay, something is very wrong with my noise gate. Why is my noise gate cutting out? You know what? I'm just going to fucking do this. 1, 2.
What have I set it to here? Sorry, give me a second guys while I got problems with my streaming setup. Just give me a second.
Okay, hopefully that will...
That works. I've got to move this. Gotta get my coffee out though. There we go. My coffee of the month is Thai dark roast.
Although technically, the coffee is kind of like
half done already. Oh, oh. No, yes, no, what's going on?
What happened in chat?
What's happening in chat? Oh, I was dealing with stuff. What are you guys talking about? What are you guys doing?
Lock input to other applications.
Oh. Oh. Give me a second.
Is there anything I can do to
Change this. Okay, you know what? Yeah. I guess I'm gonna change the setting for now. Apparently, OVR Toolkit introduced an update that changed some settings, so yeah, I had to deal with that as well. They calling you mommy? Oh? Maka, do you become a mommy while I wasn't looking? Maka is now mommy Maka. That's the first I heard of it. When did that happen? I'm curious. What happened while I was gone?
Well, I was having difficulty sleeping.
What's going on? Maka's still looking for the daddy. Oh my. Oh, it's okay, Maka. I'm sure you'll find your daddy soon. Yeah, how you guys doing? You guys probably know how I'm feeling, right? I'm feeling really sleepy and worn out, exhausted.
Oh god.
Oh, what's that? Wait. Hang on.
Wait, what?
Maca VR tip $30. Artie, will you be my Valentine?
Why is my overlay fucking up?
Hang on, all my overlays are breaking.
Hang on. What?
What's happening? That isn't updating.
What just happened?
What just happened?
What just fucking happened?
Hang on. What?
Why is everything
fucking up? Your play yes, this changed 100%. Why wasn't that loud, was it?
Was it that loud? I'm not sure.
I can't see what just happened.
Because my activity feed isn't updating.
Why aren't you updating? Fucking what just happened? Nothing is working right today. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
I think was that for Maka? Was that also Maka? Was it?
Maka, Tadiyasi. Oh my god. Thank you so much, Maka.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I actually didn't hear it in my ears because apparently my setup is slowly breaking. But I did see the audio levels go crazy,
And,
and the activity feed isn't updating, so
oh no way. This thing is refusing to cooperate. Fuck.
the TOS even unappreciate.
I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Maka. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't hear it in my ears, but
I saw it.
I saw it pop up, so don't worry. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much, Maka. Thank you. Thank you.
Wait, what's that behind me? Oh, I didn't realize that it was texting. You know what?
I think that's a good feel. There we go.
IT, will I be around? I know, of course.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. Wait, does that mean that I'm gonna be a daddy? This time? I don't know how that's gonna work out because, I don't really see myself being a daddy. Marcus got a daddy. Yeah, Chan, yeah.
Look at me, look at
Look at my manly daddy body. Don't you wish you had daddies with bodies like this?
Okay, I'm very certain that something is going wrong with my mic because... Hang on, let me test something real quick.
Give me a minute, Chan. Okay. Sorry, yeah, I think my mic is slowly breaking.
Yeah, that or something in Windows is taking control of my mic again, and I don't know what's going on. I have to try to see if I can fix it.
Artificial did not just go there with that song. Did I go somewhere with a song? Eh? Was there a song somewhere? Don't you wish your Don't you wish your dad was hot like me?
I didn't.
I wasn't that didn't occur to me, but oh well.
You know, I've been staring at my activity feed and I'm a bit annoyed at the fact that it hasn't updated. I'm not sure if it's a problem with YouTube or
something else. Okay, chat. Let me try to see if I can fix this. Give me 1 second while I try to fix this. Choose account. Authenticate. There we go.
did it work?
There it is. Now give me a second, chat.
I have to hear this.
Maca VR type $30. Artie, will you be my Valentine?
Yeah, of course I'll be a Valentine, Maca. It wasn't that loud, was it? I mean, I was looking at the audio sliders, and it's only as loud as me. Is it that loud, guys? Was it really that loud? Oh, I'll have to check it in the recording. Actually,
You know, I feel like change of scenery, don't you?
yeah, I feel like a change of scenery. Give me 1 second,
One second, let me change the scenery.
real quick.
Yeah, that's boring.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's really nice. Okay. Yeah, we'll use that. Yes, it wasn't that loud. Oh no! I'm getting some mixed signals here.
Okay, hang on. Let me play another alert to see how loud this sounds.
How loud does this sound?
We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I.
Okay, that was loud.
That was super loud.
Okay, hang on.
Why are all my audio settings so fucked up?
That was loud even for me.
I don't know why all my audio settings are so off.
Why is it so bad?
Okay, let me try this.
Okay, let's try this again.
We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I.
Okay, that's better.
How about this?
1, 2. How's that? Is that good? Seems like that's good.
McAVR tip $30. Artie, will you be my Valentine?
Yeah, okay, that's better. Okay, sorry to anyone whose ears I blew out earlier.
I really don't know what's going on with all of my audio settings. It's
yeah, it's annoying.
I spend a lot of time dealing with audio settings, and then
It just breaks. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, by the way, check.
I totally want to take my first coffee of the day, but before we do that,
Before we do the check, let me.
go to the washroom real quick. Go to the washroom, and then come back. We'll take our first.
Coffee sip of the day.
I'll be right back, chat.
Love y'all.
So I have to go pee.
Not good to hold it in. I'll be right back.
Also, why does this thing keep? Hang on.
What?
Am I accidentally adjusting the size of this? No, it's not. Why? Oh, fucking hell.
Are you serious?
God damn it, hang on.
chat,
I have to
fix some stuff. Okay.
And now every time when I take my eyes away from this and look window and look back at it, it feels like it gets smaller.
Oh, okay. Stay right there. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back, chat. Okay, now let me get that coffee. I need coffee.
I haven't drank coffee or tea yet today.
Get out that coffee. Where is it?
Here it is. Everyone.
Grab your drinks.
Remember, it doesn't matter what you're drinking as long as you're here for the moment, chat. Can be coffee, tea, beer, root beer, water.
Anything you have.
As long as you're here. Going in 3, 2, 1. Aim pie.
Here's everyone.
What the fuck?
Hang on a second.
What? Why did 2 of my trackers spontaneously turn off?
Hang on. 2 of my trackers just turned off. What the fuck? Okay. I don't know why they spontaneously turned off like that. Technical difficulties galore. Hopefully no more though.
Let me mess with
this other setting.
Yeah, please lock the UI so that things don't get moved anymore.
Yeah, thank you. How's everyone doing? Yeah, how's everyone doing in chat, by the way? I'm not going to be seeing you guys for a week. Has anything big been happening? Anything exciting? Anything good? Everything good?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Glad to hear that, chat. Super Bowl?
Oh, Super Bowl. I don't know anything about.
American football.
The last time I tried to play a Madden NFL game,
Let's just say that it didn't go very well.
I just stared at the screen like
I have no idea what I'm doing.
and I'm pretty sure I lost. I think I lost.
I wanted to try to learn how to play, but yeah, I don't know.
Every time I was supposed to, I don't know, throw the fucking football backwards, I would throw it to the whoever the thrower is, and then he would just get gangbanged before I could do anything.
I do enjoy that, but I'd rather know how to play a game properly.
And cooking. Just finished cooking fried chicken.
Oh, fried chicken. What kind of fried chicken? Anything special in it? Or is it just like good old-fashioned breaded fried chicken?
Or more like flour fried chicken. Like normally the standard is flour and egg bath, right?
That's the most standard. Anything special or just old-fashioned fried chicken?
Fried chicken is one of my favorite foods.
Actually, I love fried chicken. You guys have no idea. Love it so much. When I was a kid, I would want to go and eat KFC all the damn time.
And I know some Americans are like, oh my god, KFC, you poor soul, but
KFC here, chat, KFC here is great. I don't know what the hell's going on with KFC in the US, but around here, KFC is good. It's really good.
hang on, let me drink some water. Let me drink some more water, chat. I'm just staying hydrated, chat. It's important to stay hydrated.
You know? One thing I don't like about this world is that this world,
It's supposed to be comfy world, chat, and yet this thing, this
fucking chandelier is so low.
I feel like my head's gonna
Bonk on that thing. Here, not careful.
It's your own recipe.
Oh, own family recipe? Oh, hi.
Oh, excuse me.
Nothing. Give me a second. There we go. KFC is only second best.
Well, I mean, yeah, KFC is good and all, but the way I hear it in the US, KFC it's like garbage.
fairly better than Taco Bell, which I've also heard is garbage in the US, and I don't get it, yeah. You guys designed and made Taco Bell. How can Taco Bell be awful in the country it came from, you know?
Oh, which reminds me, I need to change my status real quick.
There we go. Need a wet batter to make your chicken crispy.
What, like an egg bath or something else?
You know, usually people use egg baths, but do you use something else? Taco Bell is mainly for college students and single guys like you. I mean, I kind of went out of my way to eat Taco Bell because we have a Taco Bell around here, Jack, in Malaysia, and I ate it once, and it's actually quite nice. I enjoyed it.
Although I'll have to drive quite a distance to go and get Taco Bell, unfortunately, so I can't have it that often. I have to go on a grand pilgrimage to get the Taco Bell.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was really nice. Other than Taco Bell, if I want any kind of burrito or taco, it's probably cheaper and easier for me to get it from like
We call it Texas chicken here, but in America it's called Church's chicken. Could also probably try to find a cheap burrito or taco place nearby. Well, but I have flour, baking powder, oil, and all these spices.
oh, sounds alright.
Although it's spelled flour, Flour, not flour.
That's the wrong type of flour. Unless you actually put flowers in there.
Did you? Excuse me. Sorry, burping.
Did you actually put flowers in your wet batter?
Flour.
Okay.
I mean, most of your stuff's like hand in.
Okay. Okay. Sweet dreams, Prancer. Good night.
Hope you sleep well. Do I have to test something, chat?
Let me.
Bring up my main menu.
Let me try to
Recalibrate. It feels like my calibration's a bit off.
I feel like they just one of the changes they made to the IK changed how I'm supposed to calibrate it. Because previously I used to bend my knees a little bit whenever I calibrate again, but now it doesn't seem like I need to. Now it seems a lot more smoother. Yeah, this feels a lot better now. Let me see where.
I might need to mess with some settings.
Because,
one weird thing about me, Chan, is that I have super long arms.
I need to mess with the arm to height ratio.
Oh wow!
Oh! The
New calibration options have already been added in.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, I'm not gonna touch this for now.
I'm a bit worried that I'm going to do something wrong, so yeah, I'm not gonna touch this. But I see the options there, so.
Good night, Panzer. Sweet dreams.
If cooked with pumpkin flour, they're really tasty with melted cheese and
Pumpkin flowers?
I have no idea what that would taste like. I don't really like the taste of pumpkin.
And yeah, what would pumpkin flower taste like?
I'm curious. Does it taste like pumpkin or something else?
Oh, Chan. One of the projects I'm going to be working on while I'm on my break is
The D&D session that I'm preparing.
well, technically not D&D, it's Pathfinder.
Everyone has their characters mostly locked in now, so I need to get to starting the encounters, figuring out what kind of enemies I want to throw at my friends, and this could be a lot of fun, chat.
I'm looking forward to my first D&D session as DM. Although I'm also terrified because
I never DM before, and yeah, I'm worried I'm gonna be boring, or my friends are gonna be like,
oh my god, never DM again, kind of thing.
yeah, I'm a bit worried.
You're still waiting for your update for your calibration?
Update? What? I see the update right now in
When I bring up the menu, specifically the hand menu, the menu's on your hand, and I navigate to the cogwheel, I can scroll down and see adjust full body tracking, move and rotate.
so yeah, it's already in. I don't know when this update went live, but
I don't think it was today, was it?
I don't think so. I didn't see an update today. I already have quite a few ideas of what I can do at the party.
Are there any of my plagues lurking right now? Any players lurking?
Anyone?
Any players lurking? Oh shit!
Shit, there's a player. Okay.
Since
Since we have a player looking, I'm not gonna say anything about the encounters I have planned. Really? No, it's fine, it's fine. I just wanted to give chat a little sneak peek or teaser. But I've got those ideas I have for encounters, which I didn't. Okay, one of the encounters I've already started. It's the one that we did yesterday. Although technically you don't have the context for the encounter. You only seen the stats, or at least a bit of it. Yes, there's another encounter that I'm going to start probably later tonight, actually. Not gonna lie, I wasn't listening to half of what was going on. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, chat. There's something I do need to discuss with you, guys. With regards to your relic weapon, I have an idea of what we can do with that, actually. Although, hang on. Before I talk about it, sorry, chat. Let me go and pee again. I'll be right back. Give me. I'll speed run this shit. Give me. Let me pee. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, I'm back. Chat. Cass, are you still there? Cass, are you there? I need to discuss your ideas for your character with you. You guys don't mind, chat, if we do a bit of Pathfinder character building with Cass right now, right? Yeah? Is it okay? You guys okay with that? I'm gonna be streaming the Pathfinder game. Oh, by the way, yeah, before I go any further, yes, the Pathfinder game that I'm DMing is gonna be streamed, most likely on YouTube. So yeah, it might even be the first game that we stream when I come back from my break, but I'll let you guys know. Are you sure? It's fine. I'm sure I'll be fine, Cass. Don't worry. We know what the limits are
YouTube.
Right, Jack? Right? You know what the limits are.
It's not like Twitch. I'm not going to stream that shit on Twitch.
Fuck no.
Twitch can eat shit and die. But
YouTube is fine, probably, maybe. Yes.
okay, so
Yeah. About 15 minutes. Okay. I'll be quick then.
with regards to your relic, I'm okay. I'm sold on Fiend because that makes sense, but sell me on Fire. Why Fire and not something like Water or any of the other elements? Sell me on the Fire aspect or whatever you want the second
thing to be.
Second association to be.
Yeah, character isn't really that sexual, but it's still definitely up there in 18 plus. but are you talking about the womb tattoo that your character has going?
Means of fire and control. Yeah, but
sell me on it.
What does fire represent about you?
You know? I can understand the fiend part, but
Not so much the feeling in nature that trigger your bloodline, and you can't be think that's out of those areas per se. Aren't there like water fiends or air fiends or even life fiends?
just sell me on the fire. Convince me that the fire is something that comes from you. What does the fire represent for your character? Does it represent
bonus is either bloodline bonus is either bonus to control or bonus to fire damage.
literally adds fire damage. Everything.
Yeah, I know, but I mean your character, what does it mean to you?
What does the fire represent? I'm not asking for mechanics, I'm asking for
Role play.
why do you not have a theme in regards to the fire? Burns everything away. Good burn.
Okay.
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 It equalizes.
Okay. Okay. I can understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, this is my idea, Cass.
Your weapon's gonna start out, right? With a relic. But it's only going to have the... Many of your spells specify, so more fire mixes. Yeah, I know, but
This
is what I want to do. Your weapon's gonna start out as a relic.
Right.
It's only going to have the Fiend tree at the start, and you are specifically going to have the Little Helper gift on the weapon. You pay attention to the Little Helper. It might point into you a way to get more power of your weapon.
How does that sound? Your relic weapon helping you unlock your diabolic, fiendish bloodline. Does that sound cool?
And in exchange for this, if you successfully get the unlock that I have planned, you will get a second gift. I'll just let you know. You will get a second gift on your relic if you successfully navigate that scenario I have planned.
A character with 2 personality has a weapon that also has a voice and plays with people.
In the case of the relic, you are the only person who's going to be able to hear the weapon's voice.
The weapon speaks to you, and only you, Cass.
Other people might be able to detect magics coming from the weapon, but you're not going to be able to tell exactly what's going on with the weapon. As far as they know, it's just a ruined, enchanted weapon.
The audio is going to be able to hear the voice coming from the weapon. It's up to you what you do with that. Whether you want to outwardly talk to the weapon and let people hear you talking to the weapon, or you want to keep it internal monologue. It's up to you. Entirely up to you.
So you'll be 21 gold. You have more gold to buy other things? I hadn't settled on the gold cost for it yet. How much was the gold cost for it again? If we were saying it's going to be, what was it, 50 or 20 for a relic with one ability? Yeah. Although the guide was saying that relics are technically way more powerful than the gold cost would suggest, so I'm thinking of increasing the gold cost. This is what I was thinking of doing, Cass. The relic, as far as treasure is concerned, is going to take up as far as the treasure list is concerned, the highest value item from the you should have this by now treasure list, because assuming that we level up your relic is going to basically level up with you and be as powerful as weapons that do not level up. So not only does the relic itself have more power than its gold value, more power above its gold value, it grows beyond its initial gold value. So I want to bring it back down a little bit. I want to make sure that there's some proper balance. So I was thinking, make your relic cost. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Find the gold cost of a second level item, and that will be the cost of your relic. Subtract that from your gold.
Right? That's what we're gonna do, yes. Also, hello, Ginger. And hello, Aaron. Welcome to the Roost. You joined us while I was in the middle of setting up a bit of Pathfinder characters for the Pathfinder campaign that I'm gonna be running with my friends. First time DMing, by the way. I'm worried. I hope it'll be good. I'm not yet if it's gonna be good, but I hope it'll be good. Sound? Is there something wrong with the sound? If anyone is having problems with the sound, let me know. I can always adjust audio levels easily. Like,
is the music too loud, or is there some other sound playing that isn't being heard?
that was good. Oh, okay, that's fine then. That's fine. Don't know what happened.
Probably just a random bug then.
Excuse me. But yeah, I was just going over character creation with one of my players. So yeah, I guess
We'll say it costs the equivalent of a level 2 item, and as it levels up with you, the value of the weapon is going to increase. You're going to keep giving more abilities and stuff. I think that sounds fair. Based on my reading of the relic rule set and the guide does mention that I should be careful about awarding this because it is a very powerful item that, like I mentioned, it's more powerful than the goal value suggests even at base, and then it keeps growing beyond its initial goal cost. So yeah. Seems those range from 7 GP to 35 GP. Alright. Considering what it is. Value. Okay.
How about this, Cass?
Do you want your knife to be a +1 weapon or no?
Let me know. Let me know and I'll give you the gold cost.
I understand that you are a sorcerer, so you're not going to be stabbing people. It's entirely up to you whether or not you want the knife to be a +1 weapon or no. This would determine the final gold cost I'm assigning to the item, at least at character creation right now. You don't think it'd be any use?
Well,
We'll leave it as a +0 item then. In that case, it's gonna cost you 35 gold.
right? 35 gold.
Relic weapon with the fiend. The fiend. The fiend trait. It has the little helper gift, and the little helper gift is going to aid you in unlocking more of it. Can also might give you some helpful hints about encounters that you're in.
Yeah.
Because the little helper is technically
It is a sentient item. So yeah, that is.
enveloping light tattoo. What does that do?
Let me know what that does, because I can't look it up right now. Keep in mind, I'm already giving you a lot of power.
I already gave you one of the traits, right? That allowed you to have the womb tattoo, wasn't it? You're still taking that trait, right?
This little light spell.
It turns. Time you regain. Region 24 hit points. Let's see what's per day.
What's that called?
Because it affects world background. It's not only that background is giving you a reactive ability that allows you to increase your defenses. I would say
for now, no.
Your relic weapon is going to be 35 GP.
If you
want the enveloping light tattoo, we can see about getting you that tattoo other ways, but for now,
I'm putting a cap on how much power you're gonna be starting with. So yeah.
You have a reactive that increases your defense, and you have a relic weapon which would level up. And technically, by the end of the first session, if you handle the scenario I have planned right, you might get the second gift already on your relic weapon, so
Relic weapon on sorcerer in a one-shot campaign.
Well, a short campaign rather than a one-shot.
Single quest.
This is probably going to take three sessions to play out.
So yeah. And I did mention that if it turns out that this goes really well and I continue DMing, then
maybe my campaign will spin out to something bigger, but for now I'm keeping it short. I'm actually already getting some new hooks from the other players, like Ganon mentioned. With Ganon, I have things I can explore with him. With Mitchell, I have things I can explore with him that I can choose to explore with either of them beyond the campaign, if the campaign keeps going.
So yeah. Hello Peter. Hello Chato, welcome to the roost. Is this VR? Yeah, it's VR. It's VR, Chato. This is a live pre-recorded session. It's totally live, totally pre-recorded.
It's a live stream of my recording of me responding to you from the future. Yes.
Assign me some too?
Yeah, I know. And the whole idea of you exploring your ancestry and getting more powers through your relic weapon and stuff like that, that is additional hooks that I'm keeping for your character for that could extend in the future. Temporary, possibly. I don't know what Lucky's gonna do yet. White. At least with what I have from White, he's only mentioned that he was sent to the city to correct the imbalance and disorder that's occurring in the city. And technically, with what I have planned, there is still more stuff that he can do. So he does have a way to continue on his adventure.
Wakanda forever. Choo 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 choo, friend. What? Is that me? Is that me I'm missing? Mining door and Brooklyn. He's gonna want gold nuggets. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I need more coffee.
Sure, I need more coffee. I'm drink coffee. Everyone, grab your drinks.
It doesn't matter what you're drinking as long as you're here for the moment. It can be coffee, tea, beer, root beer, water. And then you have champ. As long as you're here. Today I'm drinking Thai dark roast mocha.
Yeah. Ready, everyone? Going in 3, 2, 1. Goodbye. Yes, everyone. Oh, that's so good. Oh, one of the best plans I've had for quite a while. Oh, okay. Gonna go get ready for 7 days. Alright.
Yeah, that's all I needed to discuss with you, Cass. Is there anything else I need to talk with anyone about in regards to my Pathfinder campaign?
Oh.
I'm good with Mitchell, I'm good with Gannon, I'm good with White. I'm now good with you. Technically the only person I still need to talk to is Lucky if he wants to set something up.
But, for now, I'm just going to run with,
Scottish barbarian dwarf looking for a fight.
Sick and tired of being in the mines, wanting to bash things in instead. Something like that. You drink an herb of your ancestors?
What kind of herb? What, like tea or something else?
I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but I'm trying to stay awake right now. I'm so sleepy. I want to make sure I attend Phoenix Palace later tonight.
So I'm chugging my coffee right now. I might not have enough coffee to get me to Phoenix Palace. I might have to make more tea.
It's purple thingy, triple.
Purple thingy? What, like grape juice?
Or blackcurrant or anything like that.
Something from my childhood. You know, blackcurrant, right? What was it called? Ribena is a very, very popular drink.
Around here. Super popular drink, but
so many kids love to drink it around here, but in the end I never drank it.
Like, I always was like,
It
it smells funny. I want Black Panther for the cat. Hmm? Is Hayuana a cat?
How's RT today? Free from Unity? Well, technically I haven't opened Unity for most of the week. Instead, I've been
opening Pathfinder a lot. For like half a week. So yeah, technically I've been free from Unity for the whole week. Instead I was trapped in Pathfinder jail. And a black panty. Oh my. Black panty? You mean like these panties? These are black panties.
I just realized something.
Hang on. I've got to turn on smoothing. There we go.
Nah, I won't give you guys.
Motion sickness. I move you guys around. Underpants? Sussy, what? You mean sussy? It's not sussy. What are you talking about? This looks sussy to you? The answer is no, chat. The answer is no. This isn't sussy. It's fine, chat. Don't worry about it. Always sus? What do you mean, always sus, Noon? What do you mean? There's no sus here.
I need to test something out as well. How's this look? Did they update the focus?
Oh wow, this looks so... This looks so good. I need to test out how this looks actually, because of the IK updates. I had to change how I calibrated into my avatars. Looks good, right? I need to see what this looks like on the other avatar. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. How's this look on this avatar? It's good. Don't you think so? You can't stop thinking about Overwatch? Aww. Have you been awake all night, maybe? Actually, this outfit doesn't. Does this outfit look better with or without my bodysuit? What do you think? What do you guys think, chat? I look better without a top. This top. I can't take this off. That might be TOS. So I'm sorry, this top is gonna have to stay on. Although, actually no. I can do a different version of the top. How about this version? My accidental Tifa cosplay. You know, I didn't intend for this Tifa style outfit to, be a thing, but it ended up being very close to Tifa.
Video gaming's biggest slut.
I gotta tell you, Tifa has fucked everything. This looks better? I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I really like this top as well. Yeah, if there's a monster or an enemy in Final Fantasy, Tifa has fucked it. Looks like a Tomb Raider t-shirt. A little bit, but due to the skirt rather than shorts, I'm thinking more Tifa rather than what's her face Tomb Raider lady, Lara Croft. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot Lara Croft's name. The closest thing I have to Lara Croft would be... let me see. Yes, but Lara Croft's shorts are brown, aren't they? These are black, so I don't think... Sadly, I don't think I can be Lara Croft with these shorts.
I mean, yeah, there's the whole...
Like Angelina Jolie, Lara Croft, maybe she had black shorts? Perhaps? I think people know Lara Croft with, like, brownish shorts more. That's what I think I am. You know what? All alive, thank you for the music, but I think I need this style of music right now. There you go. Okay, you're getting stunlocked. Stunlock how? What do you mean? Everything okay, Lily? What's wrong? Are you alright? gonna look now and chill before sleep. Okay. Okay. Some dreams. Hope you as well. God, oh, what's wrong? Is this a problem, Jack? Is there a problem? Why? You can't do that anymore on Twitch, Robot?
Well, good thing we're not on Twitch, huh?
Good thing we're not on Twitch, right? Right? Right?
Right? Oh yeah, chat. To repeat what I went over in my Discord, I still don't know yet what I'm going to do about Twitch.
Me being unplannable. I need to think about it.
I have talked to a few more people, and a friend of mine, Mizu, says he hopes I would come back. Another streamer, Astrazia, said he hopes I would come back.
Oh, I have to think what I do.
No matter what I decide to do, I'm fairly certain that I'm not going to leave YouTube.
I'm fairly certain I'm not going to leave YouTube because if I were to go back to Twitch, then I'll just fall under all the same rules that ended up perma-banning me again. And yeah, no, I want to go back to that.
At least not without an outlet. But
yeah, I have to think about it.
and I'm gonna think about it over my holiday.
I have to redo all my avatars if I do. Well, here's the thing. There's a part that annoys me, chat.
I've seen so many VRchat streamers wear less than this and they're fine. I've seen people like Kason, Shy Lily. I love Kason and Shy Lily, by the way. I really like their content. Okay, maybe not so much Shy Lily, but it's just, I think it's specifically not my style of content, or at least not what I like to watch.
But I really like what she does.
But yeah, and nothing against Kason and Shy Lily personally. I really like what they do. I can see why people love them. And me personally, I love watching Kason.
So I have nothing against them.
It's just I hate the fact that Twitch will give Kason and Shy Lily and other big streamers like a free pass to do whatever the hell they want, even though they're clearly breaking TOS with quite a number of the things that they do. Like there's a very popular Kason clip where it's very clear she is breaking 3 different rules in that clip, and these are explicitly spelled out rules, and nothing happened to Kason. No bonk, nothing. The clip still exists on Twitch. And I get perma-banned because of internal policies that weren't even spelled out in the fucking TOS until like months after I got banned. Like, what the fuck?
They only clarified the relevant sections that got me banned
months after I got banned. They'll perma-ban me for that, while leaving people like Shy Lily and Kason, I love them by the way, leaving people like Shy Lily and Kason to do whatever the hell they want. Clearly breaking things that were already written in the TOS and been in the TOS for like a year, and nothing happens.
yeah, this is part of the reason why I have a lot to think about in regards to Twitch, whether or not I want to go back.
I have to think about whether or not I want to subject myself to that again, just for the money.
I'll be completely honest with you guys. Chat.
Yes, money is something to consider when, you know, streaming, and the only thing that's holding me back to Twitch, or at least making me consider going back to Twitch, is the money, because Twitch's viewer culture there is very different, and it's really it's the best for making money, but at the same time I don't know if I want to go back just for that.
It's something I have to think about. See if I'll be able to, you know, have fun streaming there. Knowing that all that bullshit is going on in regards to Twitch and their moderation standards and all that. YouTube is a pretty giving website. So kidding.
YouTube has its own issues, like for example right now the music I have playing, I'm fairly certain it's gonna get my VOD blocked, but it's fine.
I'm
Doing as a calculated act, I already know that. And YouTube does have its own issues, but issues that are at least a little bit more honest than the issues I have with Twitch.
yeah. Oh. These are all things I'm gonna consider and work through while I'm on holiday. In addition to other stuff I'm doing.
Oh, by the way,
speaking about the holiday,
you guys remember I mentioned a couple of weeks back that I was thinking of doing a slight fashion makeover with my avatar? In the end, I think I'm going to scrap the idea. To do what I want to do would not. Well, let me put it this way. It's something that would be quite destructive to the avatar, and I won't be able to go back from that. And it permanently changes how the avatar looks.
okay,
I'll just go talk to you guys about what I was thinking of doing. I was thinking of giving myself like a cyber arm.
and possibly cyber legs.
If you guys know Flimsy, the person who posts a
Bunch of really hot VRchat pictures on Twitter, Lindsay VR. Yeah, I was thinking of doing something similar to Flimsy, but
thinking about it, I was like, do I really want to go that destructive with my avatar? And then I was like, nah.
There are other things I can do that would probably be less destructive, so in the end of the day, there are companies that don't care just on that.
Well,
Coughing.
I don't mind if the company doesn't care. What I would like the company to be is at least honest.
Ultimately, just that's what I expect from the company. Don't lie to me, you know. Don't
don't put out a TOS that spells out certain things and then ban people for secret internal policies. Don't do shit like that. That's dishonest and really sketchy and scummy. YouTube, yes, they have their own issues, like they implement new policies every now and then, and they make it retroactive. But even though, yes, that is a problem with YouTube, at least they tell you about it. At least they are honest about it, you know? That I can deal with honesty. What I can't deal with is people who lie to me, and Twitch fucking lies. Twitch lies all the damn time, and I don't... That's what's setting me off with regards to Twitch.
Oh, check. Let me take another washroom break. I've been drinking lots of coffee. I'm sorry. I had to take another washroom break. I'll be right back, chat. Make sure you guys get up and stretch your legs as well, okay? It's not good to sit down for too long.
I'll be right back.
Alright, guys. I'm back. Sorry it took me longer than usual. Let me put you guys on.
Why?
Where should I put the camera? Right there. Yep. What the fuck is that wiper sound?
Is there a song? I mean, I know that there's a song on the playlist that's the sound of a car crashing
At the start, and then it just goes into whatever the damn song is.
I hate that song actually.
Sadly, I can't control the playlist though. Oh,
I'm thirsty, Chan. Let me drink some water.
I'm gonna stay hydrated, Chan. It's important to stay hydrated. Let me get some coffee now. It's time for coffee chat. Everyone, grab your drinks. And it doesn't matter what you're drinking, as long as you're here for the moment, chat. It can be coffee, tea, beer, root beer, water, anything you have, chat. As long as you're here. Going in 3, 2, 1. Team fine. Yes, everyone. That's good coffee. It's sad that this isn't a branded coffee though. You can only buy this in Thailand.
It's supposed to be Aboriginal grown coffee beans.
I don't know if it makes any difference, but it's Arabica, so yeah. I need to get back into more dances. I actually did dancing, light dance practice with my teacher on Friday. And later I'm gonna be attending Phoenix Palace, so yeah, need to get back into dancing and all that. So it's outdoor coffee? I don't know. I don't know.
Wait, isn't all coffee outdoor coffee because technically it's grown?
Outdoors? Isn't that all coffee, Jack? Isn't all coffee grown outdoors? Or am I mistaken with that? Is there actually indoor coffee? Like hydroponics?
I don't think there is. Is there a hydroponically grown coffee? Let me fix my
knee pads a little bit. There we go. Long snoot, long smell.
That's actually a type of dog, isn't it? It's a borzoi.
I don't even know why that thing became a meme. What does that even mean? That dog. I've seen it around, and I don't know what it's supposed to mean.
I mean, I know it's a type of dog, but still, it's like, what is it?
Does it mean something, or is it just random Zoomer shit as usual?
Zoomer's being weird as fuck.
I just assume it's being weird as fuck. I don't know. Yes, it's meant to kill Wolf.
Yeah, but if it's made to kill Wolf, then why do I see people just posting pictures of their dog's face?
What does that mean?
Like it's the... Are they saying that the person that they're looking at is a wolf and they're going to kill him or something?
Or is it,
Does it have a different meaning?
you know? I don't know what the intent of the meme is.
It's me a long snoot. What? I still don't know what the meme means.
And like,
I know it's a type of dog. I know that it's a hunting dog, but other than that, like what the hell does that picture mean?
I have no clue. I feel like changing clothes. This is my dance outfit, Chat. It's been a while since I've worn it on stream. My dance outfit for the longest time. I whip you on my tail. Smack, 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 smack. Smack, smack, smack. Reminds me, I need to see what this looks like if I have my tail. Looks a bit awkward, doesn't it? I think I need to make my tail longer. Yeah.
I think that's what I'm gonna do while I'm on my vacation.
Going to make some adjustments to my avatar and make my tail longer. Hey Paris, welcome. Welcome to the roost. Hope you had a good weekend. Yeah, I definitely need to make my tail longer.
Shouldn't be too hard to do that though.
I'm gonna miss you guys though. I'm really holiday, but I really do need it. I haven't been sleeping well. I'm really stressed. Not that I just like spending time with you guys. It's just everyone needs a break every now and then, right? And I think I need that break. I think it'll be good for me so I can come back and be even more fun and entertaining for you guys. One thing that I've been slacking off has been my fan sleep. I really need to get back into a good space so that I can be sexy for you guys on fan sleep. I can't exactly do fan sleep streams when I don't feel sexy, so Yeah. I'll be working on it. It's been a while since I gave you guys some cuddles. And I'll give you guys all the comfy times you need before I go on my week vacation. I'll make sure to fill you guys up.
You show me love and they spit in my face, making your money off all of my pain. You put an eagle inside of a cage, and you think I'm not strong enough to escape. But I refuse to let you make me feel like I can fly. Not only will I soar again, I'll own the fucking sky. Yeah. So I put my middle finger up. I'm done being a slave. My generation's had enough, and you should be afraid. Natural prisoner. Better listen when I say I put my middle finger up.
Oh, looks like I'm getting a visitor. By the end of the day, I'm more sexy on YouTube than artificial. Oh,
There was no question that I was
thank you so much for that. But
an artist on fire is one that's alive. You can't surround a lion with a bunch of lazy sheep.
I'm going too far because that's the end of my place, please. Right. Let me get my friend in here. Cuddles? Yeah. Just wanted to make sure Cat has, or Chad has enough cuddles before I go on holiday. Because You guys are gonna have a week without me. I'm sure you guys will be okay, but yeah, I want to make sure you guys have enough comfy to last an entire week. I'm sure you'll be fine, but you know, just in case you guys need it. And my friends here. Come on in. Oh.
Okay, yeah, the one problem with this world is that the light fixture is so low.
So come over here. Everyone say to Marco.
How are you doing, cutie?
My good friend Marco. Yes, Marco's towering over me, but it's fine. I like this view. Hehe.
Oh, I bet you do.
Although technically,
a friend actually showed me something that I'm gonna be playing with, or at least trying to get it to work over the holiday. Apparently, someone developed a way to scale up and down avatars, like just
Oh.
as a prefab, and you can apply to any avatar. So I'm gonna be messing with it all the week over the holiday.
yeah, I've got a lot of stuff I planned that I'm going to be experimenting on and seeing how it works.
Let me sit down so I'm not hitting my head on the chandelier. Fucking lamp.
Yeah,
I don't know why. Like this world is really nice. Everything about this world is nice, but
the chandelier.
is like that low, and the floor is that low.
So
I mean that high.
like that's the only thing I don't like about
This
this world.
world's not made for tall people.
You say that, and yet look at how tall the buttons are.
Over there. Yeah, look. Look how tall those buttons are.
Sure, people are not gonna be able to press the top row, and yet the chandelier is that is that low.
Like, what the fuck?
Right. Oh, I like this. The train. I got like a train looking
I
thing.
need
That's pretty
this.
cool.
I need this.
You need to shrink this down. Just
Shrink it out just a little bit.
like maybe cut its size, total size in like half or some shit.
Then it'll be good. Oh, Jack, by the way, I'm curious. How does this work as a girl next door outfit?
Yes. It does
Yes.
give you that girls next door outfit. Sheesh.
Hmm?
I would love to live next door to you. Good lord.
It's a nice room too. Yeah,
Technically, there's more to this world than just
this window actually.
you can kind of control what's on the window through this. But oh wait, you can't see the words here.
Yeah,
Okay, chat.
you can't see the words here, but
There are words on these buttons. Each of these buttons changes what you see.
outside the window over there. So
Right now, you guys see fireworks.
right, Jack. So
Let's see. Let me choose something that is really obvious.
here.
Now you guys see a interdimensional horrors.
Yeah.
Yeah, horrors beyond all reason. So
Now we go back here
and
Aww.
and we change it to.
My
let's
baby's
say-
scared.
Let me change it to this.
how's that look?
So many hands.
And now you see
So many
butterflies.
You know, swirling butterflies that are clearly some weird eldritch creature that's coming to kill us all because we're above the clouds and butterflies don't fly above the clouds. So
this
They're not supposed
might
to
be
do that.
terrifying, depending on how much you think about it.
Are
So,
you
yeah.
terrified?
lots of horrifying things you can see outside the window.
If you think about it too much.
I still need to play a horror game with you one day.
Normally I play horror games with Numi and his friends.
Numi knows. Sometimes randomly Numi will be like, "Hey, wanna play a horror game?" And I'll be like, "Okay." and
And Aww.
it's fun. Like
Yeah, so scary. That's fine.
Hopefully that donation helps you.
Oh yeah, it does.
you've been donating a lot, Marka.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
As usual, make sure you got money set aside, okay?
Money for like
Savings, investments, whatever.
and all that
I
stuff.
do.
Dark hands.
Yeah, the dark hands was terrifying, but yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Going to ignore the swirling.
Vampire butterflies or
Swirling
ghosts.
butterflies.
Yeah, ghost butterflies or whatever. I can show you the rest of this world actually.
Oh god.
This is technically a train.
Pool
So
table?
if you guys
Oh Jesus.
notice the sound, it's actually train tracks below us.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
We have a pool table over here.
Of course, every world in VRchat now has to have a pool table.
Apparently you can change what that thing is as well.
You can change it to spin the bottle? Oh wait, no, it doesn't change it. Instead, spawns an entirely new table.
There's
right
even
here.
beer and beer pong as well.
Beer pong.
You know I don't get beer pong.
I never played beer pong.
Yeah, I've never played it either. I don't know what the point is of shooting a ball in a cup and then you gotta drink the alcohol that the ball lands in. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not a drinker, so I don't know.
I mean, I am, but
I'm like, how?
you see what
You guys know what beer pong is, chat? What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to let me just for example, settings, game mode normal, yeah, that.
you're supposed to.
This is take a ball, bounce it, and somehow land in the cup.
How the fuck? How?
How would you even be able to do this not drunk? Wait, how do I?
Yeah, how? How would you do this not drunk?
I can't even do this not drunk. How would you
surprised.
do it drunk?
You see?
That would did you see?
You see? It's not working. What? How?
That's not.
Yeah, how? How do I?
How do I not suck it? this game. That somehow people are expected to play drunk.
And
Yeah,
fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. I'm not gonna think about it.
got some more stuff over here.
We have,
Ooh, popcorn.
yeah, a popcorn. We have,
Alcohol.
We have
Want a can of diet piss?
you.
ew, ew.
Shit, I dropped it. Fuck.
Ew.
It has 1,000,000 calories. What the fuck? How does piss have 1,000,000 calories?
Disgusting. Disgusting.
What else do we have?
What's this? Diet Coke.
Okay, that's actually normal. I'm surprised they actually had normal Coke.
Diet Coke. Why? What? All this is Coke except for that. That's piss.
What's this one?
This
Diet
is also
Coke.
Diet Coke, billion calories.
I mean, it's not wrong. Drink enough of that, you pretty much gained 1,000,000,000 calories.
Oh, this
This was a functioning beer thing.
no beer is actually really expensive even here.
Can't afford beer.
Here you go, cutie.
I mean, okay, with the money that you gave me, Maka, I can afford like a 6-pack,
Or like maybe the next.
2-3 months. 1 6-pack for the next 2-3 months.
If someone was crazy enough to do pee in a cup,
Then you probably get fresh water again. I mean, that's technically what you have to do, right? In some situations.
I mean, if you're out in the wild, you can't filter your pee. You can drink your pee because it's still made of water.
yeah, I don't think I will though.
No, thank you. Whatever technology you need to use to filter it first, go right ahead.
Yeah, my permission.
But I'm not going to drink like actual just unprocessed and filtered.
Please, no, thank you. Disgusting. Disgusting.
And,
It's a bed.
yeah, we have a bed here, and
What's this?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, it's the mirror.
Another cushion, please.
All right, turning stream off.
Hello? Right?
Hello. Why is it so fucking? No, my YouTube's being stupid. I have your stream open and its quality went down to 144. I was like, what the fuck?
oh, that's fine. It doesn't matter what quality it is.
I know. But I still want to see you. You know, I can see you live.
Yeah, I'm getting this all live.
Yes, I am. Oh.
Yeah, this will get me TOS in Twitch.
Doesn't happen here.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, it will.
Hi, hello Kaiju, welcome to the booth.
welcome, welcome.
I mean, just your outfit alone will get you TOS.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Ugh.
I know.
Really, even snuffling a
Why does your tip? Why does the past 2 times that I try to donate to you? Why does your tip like not work? Is it because of a setting that you have on it?
My VR has been giving me some issues lately. My I don't know how to describe this. My audio takes ages to start up
Right.
properly. and I don't know if it's a Windows thing or if it's a hardware link box thing. I have to run some tests. I'm every time I turn on VR now, I'm slowly trying to figure out what the issue is. So I'm slowly narrowing down what the problem is. I have a feeling it's a Windows thing. Okay, fucking Windows, I swear.
But I won't know until
I run a couple more tests.
Right. It's always Windows.
yeah.
Chat, chief mine.
Oh. 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 I have to share.
Share.
Yeah, share. I like being shared.
What the fuck ping me? I know you do. Ah, god damn it. Airblade took a picture of me on stream when I was literally falling asleep in my chair. Fuck.
You mean with Flame Knight?
With Flame, yeah. It was like 4 in the morning and I was sitting down, I was about to pass out, and then Airblade comes out of nowhere, just chink. I was like, oh, you bitch.
Drink and then pee. Yes.
Yeah, no thank you.
No, thank you.
I'm certain there are easier ways to get water than fucking...
Drinking your own pee. I'm cool with it. I'm cool.
I mean, yeah, I know that whole Bear Grylls drink his own piss meme.
But yeah, no thank you. No thank you. I'm cool. I'm cool. I know the basics of like water filtration and
boiling, so yeah.
oh. Oh.
Oh.
Is this the
I'm
avatar
close.
that has the throne, or is that a different avatar?
I keep forgetting.
Different avatar.
Different avatar. Fine. Just saying.
Yeah.
I keep mixing up
Yeah,
those.
this one doesn't have the throne. Oh, you're good.
You know, my friends are actually really worried about what's gonna happen if I stream our Pathfinder game when we do it.
Oh boy.
I'm sure it's
I
gonna
saw
be
that.
fine.
You were reading up on the rule book.
Excuse me. Hang on. Let me drink some water.
I'm
My throat's being a bit
Hydrate.
dehydrated.
Damn, it's fine. Make sure you hydrate.
Yeah, you should hydrate.
dry. Hydrating is important, yeah.
Kai-chan, are you still in the chat? Ow, shit, that hurt.
Excuse me. Sorry, Jack. Sorry.
Ugh.
What?
Put a pillow there.
What? Why?
Oi.
Cass is really worried. Michelle's really worried, but I'm sure she'll be fine, right?
My Pathfinder campaign is not going to be entirely loot. In fact, it's just mostly just standard fantasy with sometimes a little bit of loot stuff, but
I'm sure it's fine, right? I'm sure it's a little bit fine.
Isn't it basically your D&D group?
Yeah.
What you do, where you... Yeah.
although the difference is I'm going to be DMing for the first time.
Which I've never done before.
Oh, you're a dungeon master?
Yeah. That's
Or
why I'm so nervous.
Dungeon mistress?
Same difference.
I know.
Yeah, that's why I'm nervous.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Aww. I feel like if Artificial Cutie was stuck in a desert and dehydration, she had to choose between dehydration or drink her own filtered pee from her body, she would go with dehydration. No. No.
Well, first off, I'm never stepping anywhere near a desert. Because fuck that. I don't like heat. I prefer
Cool. You're not gonna catch me anywhere near a desert.
no thank you.
What else?
But hon, if you ever come visit the States, I want to take you to Las Vegas. It's a desert. It's a city in the middle of a desert.
That sounds like hell.
Julie,
He says, what do we do in Las Vegas besides gamble and waste money?
I've gambled before at casinos.
I mean, it's not all about gambling, even though that's the majority of it. There's drinking, partying, shows. Then, you know,
Okay,
then, you know,
it's
can show you why it's called Sin City.
Okay. Okay. With regards to
Sightseeing.
this,
It's pretty fun.
with regards to the sin stuff, we can already do that in VRchat.
Yeah, true.
and it's Las Vegas the type of desert that gets cold at night?
Yes.
Yes. How cold?
Yes.
How cold?
40 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what it is in Celsius.
Someone.
How much was it? 40 to what?
40 to 30
Fahrenheit.
degrees.
Okay. Someone convert that to Celsius, please.
30 to 40 Fahrenheit. What's that in Celsius?
Shit. 4.4 degrees Celsius.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
But if we go, let's just say we're in the summer months, you're looking at 50 degrees Celsius. The hot
fuck that.
in the summer.
Fuck that. No.
I want winter. I want to feel nice and cool.
And I only go out at night. So no desert sun for me. No.
Only go out at night.
I mean, it's better to go out at night in Vegas because you see a lot more, the lights, the buildings. So, drinking. It's fun.
I'll think about it, although it's low priority. Like the lowest of the low priority. If I even if I go to the States, it's like lowest of the low.
If I go to the States, I'll go there to meet up with friends rather than just go to visit Vegas because
Yeah,
I don't think I need it.
I don't think I need it.
I mean, gonna meet up with friends. You better let me know, and I'll plan a trip to come whatever state you're visiting.
We'll see.
To be honest, it's probably gonna be ages before I even do something like that.
If I do.
Yeah. I understand. Ow.
So I guess it's like a placement
Kai-Chan,
of
I think
Archdemon.
Kai-Chan. Like an archdemon in like D&D. I mean,
not an archdemon, more like
a succubus. Yes.
yes, I agree. By like a succubus that loves gambling and drinking and sex. That's basically what the fuck it is, and drugs. Trust me, Chad. I lived there for 7 years.
Yes. Are you
Oh
going for
yeah,
Kai-Chan?
I was gonna. I was calling for Kai-chan. I think I told Kai-chan this. I don't think I told you. I should have told you, because now you're gonna look at me and be like, I'm gonna beat you up. I had a hairline fracture in my thumb.
Oh, you told me about that.
I
You
did?
crushed
I
your
can't
thumb.
remember if I told you or not.
No, you told me.
Yeah.
You told me already.
I don't know if it was you. I think you yelled at me about it.
Well, more like I was like, what? And then you told me like it's already healed. Like,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's healed. It took a month to heal. I couldn't touch my controller to play video games for a month. I was so mad. I was like, fuck. Yes, Kai-chan, my coworker accidentally crushed my thumb underneath wet lumber. And I had a hairline fracture. And because of that, I couldn't do anything. I still had to work, which sucked, but it's healed now. I wish my weekend didn't have to end so quickly. This is fucking sucks.
Oh yeah.
So I gotta work 7.
nah, you go first.
Oh, my job has me working 7 days straight.
I wanted to ask, were you going to Phoenix Palace later today?
I was thinking of attending.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm planning on going. I'm gonna take our Artie to PP.
Let's see if they posted the.
They haven't posted
Announcement
it.
yet?
They haven't posted the announcement yet.
Yeah,
Not yet. In about
I have an hour. I posted announcement.
35 minutes. Yeah, about half an hour. Oh yeah, I had my first DJ event yesterday.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about it. Shit!
I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
Shit, I completely forgot
I'm not
about
gonna
it.
lie. I was literally gonna DM you. Was like about it, but I was like, I think Cutie knows about it. She always remembers Phoenix Palace, so Ferns and Moon should be easy.
I
And I
completely.
didn't see it for the whole event. I was like,
forgot.
oh shit.
I forgot. I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
it's okay, honey. It's okay.
Mm.
You're gonna have Cutie be your hand for certain activities. Yes.
And for what?
Off stream.
Oh.
A hand for certain activities. Off stream.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I'll lend my hand.
I know. Only your hand. Hopefully more than just your hand. Oh, oh.
Okay,
Sure. I'm going for 3 hours.
I think it's time for us to start wrapping up the stream. And I'm going to start my holiday as soon as this stream ends.
Yeah. Damn it. The week you're going on holiday is the week I'm working 7 days straight. This is bullshit.
It's okay.
My next day off is not until Monday next week.
I'm sorry.
That sucks.
But,
I really can't put up my
No,
holiday
it's okay.
anymore.
I really need it.
I have
know.
not slept well once for the past 2 weeks. It's always been intermittent sleep,
Babe.
weird dreams, waking up multiple times.
Oh, yeah, I haven't been doing okay. I really need a holiday.
Do I need to cuddle you to sleep?
No, it's just...
Regardless of whether I cuddle or I masturbate before sleep, I just
need a holiday. Mm,
And you do.
mm,
You deserve it. You work hard.
mm.
I will check up on you, make sure you slept well. I'm waiting for you to say I slept for 14 hours
Oh,
because you've been so freaking tired.
technically that's actually not that great. So
well,
we'll see what happens, Chan. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to.
I am going to go on holiday soon, yeah.
Hi, Chan.
Thank you so much for being here. Whether you're looking or chatting. So let me...
No, Kai-chan.
Let me
see. Goodbye, you guys. With comfy feathers.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Bye-bye.
as usual. Thank you to my amazing extra mile supporters.
Thank you to...
let me see, did I? No, I don't have that. Oh, transparency, there you go. Thank you to Lucky, Crab, Raz.gov, Oxy, and Maka for always giving me a big tip energy.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
And thank you to Maka. And next up, thank you to Leah, Maka again.
Thank you.
And Sakito and Kylon, Lucky, Shu, DJ, and Daily Jerker for supporting me on Patreon eventually, like I mentioned.
Earlier, Jared, I've been neglecting my family.
I one of the things I'm gonna do over the holiday is take some pictures of Fancy. I promise I'll do that.
Okay. That'll be part of my working holiday.
I'll take some pictures for Fancy. So yeah, I've been putting it off for so long.
I'm really sorry to everyone family. I'll take some pictures. Yes.
I'll set something up and take some pictures. Yes.
What else?
Ooh, pictures. I can't wait to see.
Yeah. I need to do a follow-up.
And besides that, yeah. Thank you all for being here. Whether you're looking at chatting.
Bye bye
Hope you
chat.
guys had fun.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe button down below if you haven't already. What else did I have to mention? I will. Yeah. Tentative plans for just to reiterate what I'm doing.
I'm going to be
Possibly lengthening the length of my tail.
I'm gonna be
Preparing my Pathfinder. The Pathfinder stream might be the first thing I do when I come back, so I'll let you guys know. I need to take pictures for my family.
I need to...
I remember I mentioned one other thing I was supposed to do.
What was it? I completely forgot.
What was the other thing I mentioned I was supposed to do?
Fancy photos. Starting Pathfinder stream, we come back.
Mess with my tail.
Sleep.
What else?
Pet your tail.
Sleep is optional.
No, it's not optional. Don't do that. I don't know what else you said that you were doing over your holiday. Or avatar work? Question mark? I don't know.
I don't think so. I scrapped the big project for the avatar, so now it's just adjustments. Right. I need to check the clip generator and the
For your Windows?
Yeah,
the clip generator and my Windows audio and I also need to check out some other stuff with regards to that, but yeah.
This is the yeah. Okay, that's the fall.
I'm fairly certain that's
Everything I'm supposed to do. Yes, on my holiday. Yes, all the work I'm supposed to do on my working holiday.
Enjoy
Yes.
enjoy the make sure you sleep first before you work on anything.
Nah. I'm going to be working on stuff once PP is done.
Yes. Need to get shit done. Need to get shit done. All that stuff isn't going to get it.
I get it. I get it. You're getting shit done, but your sleep is more important too. Fuck.
Let's get stuff done, chat.
I got stuff done. Stuff done.
Stream off.
Not yet.
Bye, chat.
Bye, cuties. Bye, cuties. Bye, Princess Kai-chan.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks again for being here. I'll see you guys once I get back, okay? I love y'all. As usual, you can see me on Discord, so no matter what, even though I'm on vacation, you guys can find me on Discord, alright?
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.